Since entering the professional mixed martial arts scene in 2015, my next guest has left a trail of bodies behind him wherever he's gone throughout the country. And after laying low for a couple of years, he's returning to action on August 27th in Memphis, Tennessee at Attitude MMA Fights 24, where he's headlining against a big, tough, scary guy named Austin Clem. Of course, I'm talking about Mr. Jesse James Wallace. Mr. Wallace, thank you for being here and welcome to the show, my man.
Hey, of course. Thank you for having me, man.
It is an absolute honor to finally get to talk to you. You're a guy I've been wanting to talk to you for quite a long time. And as soon as you announced that this fight was coming up, I was like, this is a perfect opportunity for me to Trojan horse over here and talk to
Yeah,
this
come on,
guy.
man.
And I wanted to ask you, how excited are you, first and foremost? This has been like 3+ years since you've last competed. How excited are you to get back into the cage and compete after all this time off?
Yeah, I can't really explain it. When I got the contract, it was like got the feeling in my gut again, got fired up again. Like there's a reason behind all the training again now. And then of course people are asking me for tickets again and like all the support is like because I haven't had it in a while. Everybody's just kind of been leaving me alone, let me do my own thing. And now they see me on the poster and they see it in social media. So like the buzz is coming back, and it gets me fired up, man. I'm very excited.
In the amount of time that you have been off, obviously it's just kind of been an interesting time. I think for your particular situation, you took some time off because of health issues, and then on top of that we had a pandemic going on, so it's kind of a
Yeah,
mandatory vacation for everybody in a way.
it was a good time to step away because no one was fighting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even the UFC had a break, so I wasn't really left in the dust. I mean, the whole MMA world kind of stopped for a while, so it was a good break, a well timed break.
were
But I
you
am glad to be back.
were you able, James, were you able to do anything just for you in that 3 years that you had off that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to do as a full-time fighter?
Yeah, I'm absolutely, man. Like when it's fight camp time, it's like everything else gets put on the back burner. My family, my friends. I can't tell you how many like birthday parties I've missed and like weekend get-togethers I've missed and like it just all goes on the back burner because all I want to do is fight. So that little break kind of if you're kind of feeling kind of bummed out, you don't want to go train, you don't have to go train. I kind of like did whatever I wanted to do for that little bit of time. And it was nice. It was a nice mental reset. Kind of like let my body fully heal because us fighters are kind of dumb and we get hurt. We just kind of tape it up and keep going. So it was a nice like mental reset, let my body reset. It was good for me, man. I definitely needed some time away from the game.
And in those 3 years off, you walk on beaches, you write your memoir, you go hang gliding or parasailing, whatever it is that you need to do. At what point was it where you reached a point in your mind, or maybe you're talking it out with your family, and then yourself, I would think most importantly, at what point were you just like, okay, like I'm ready to like seriously sit down and entertain offers? Like I'm sure you were getting them nonstop all the time. Like, when are you going to fight again? When are you going to fight
Right,
again? You
right.
sell tickets. A lot of people know who you are. You're a popular guy down there. So at what point were you ready to like actually entertain these offers seriously?
I'll be honest with you. I saw guys that I have beat or guys that I can beat getting bigger opportunities, and I was like, there's only so long you can sit on the sideline. When there's a Bellator opening and you got to say no to it. There's a UFC opening, you got to say no to it.
Mm-hmm.
Contender, you got to say no. Like there's only so many chances that are for me that I could have taken that I had to turn down. There's only so many of them that come in before you're like, all right, like let's go again. And then I'm getting passed up, and the people that are getting the opportunities, I feel I'm better than. And it's just the only reason I didn't get it is because I wasn't ready. Only so many of those are going to come by and come through my phone and come through my manager Matt Weibel's phone before it's like, all right, like we got to go. They're still coming in, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm still wanted. So it's like, all right, let's get back in there.
Let's get back in there before we lose all momentum. Austin Clem, I really wanted to kind of touch on him a little bit. I must confess, I don't know a whole lot about him, but I do know that I wouldn't call him a can. I wouldn't call him a scrub.
Absolutely not.
I know that like that's the type of guy. You look at his fighting resume. I think he's deceptively good. I
Yeah,
think a lot
agreed.
of people would look at his resume and be like, "Eh, the last guy he fought wasn't really that great." But I always say like for somebody with a relatively low amount of experience, and he does, he's got 6 fights, I think, total under his belt. I'm like, yeah, well, when you have that amount of experience, it's not so much being selective. It's just, hey, there's a guy in front of me, and I can put that's another name I could add to my resume. And I
Right.
think like at an early stage in MMA, like I think we in the media and then just the keyboard warrior a-holes out there, we're really quick to like call people crushers, and we're really quick to like say stupid things like you've never fought anybody, blah blah blah.
Right.
I don't really say that. I can't say that about Clem because I look at him. I'm like, you got to fight who's in front of you. His last opponent didn't really have that great of a record, but you know what? He went in there. He took care of business. He needed to
For
do
sure.
what he needed to do to get this opportunity to fight you. I would imagine like what is it that you know about Austin? What makes him a dangerous opponent
Yeah,
come next month?
he's not a can by any means. The days of me fighting cans are well over. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? I've
yeah.
I've got over 30 fights. Like they're not going to fight me.
Mm-hmm.
Two, it doesn't do anything for me, and then also it doesn't get me up for training. You know what I mean? Like it's just I need something to get me going. You know what I mean? So I would like to fight a contender in the area, somebody who's up and coming through it. Fought on LFA and fought on Bellator. Like he's legit, and that gets me going. I'm not gonna. I can't get up to train to fight a 1 in 10 guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's tough. I know he's about it. I know he'll show up, and bring the fight, and I'm very excited.
And I look at him, and when you look at his 2 losses, one of which was his very second fight of his professional career. It looks like he just got caught. I must confess, I haven't seen that film, but it looked like he just got caught and he went on a little bit of a tear. He lost to Dakota Bush, which, hey, that's nothing to sneeze at. So, like, when you think about it, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like, has this guy just like ever really not shown up, or did he just like fight a guy that was super good, and B, in the case of the very first fight, just somebody who caught him and he was just young and inexperienced.
Right. No, he's definitely a prospect in the area. I mean, he's definitely good. He's definitely on the up and up, and I'm looking to get back in my winning ways and get back to these big opportunities and beating a guy like that puts me right back in the top of the rankings where I should be, and it puts me right, gives me all the momentum that I need to get back going again. You know what I mean?
Can you talk a little bit, James, about when I look at your career and I look at all of what you've been able to accomplish? And like I said, you've been doing this for a really long time. You fought some really scary guys. You fought TJ Brown. TJ was on my show actually
Yeah.
a year ago. Really nice guy,
TJ's awesome, man.
really nice guy. But like you look at like some of these guys that you've competed against, and you've competed against some insanely difficult guys that I couldn't imagine how scary they are. Joe Selecki comes to mind. I mean,
Yeah,
I
man.
feel kind of bad for you that that's the guy that they offered you,
Hey,
but
what a draw on Contender, right? What a draw.
what a draw, right? But I tell you what, like that's the type of guy. If you're going to take a loss to Joe Selecki. Nobody's going to give
Yeah,
you
man.
crap for that. Can you? But we're kind of like talking on something, and this is something that I've seen in a little bit of time I've been doing this. I have had a lot of guests on in this show who've been on the Contender Series. And like you, I have had guests that either didn't get picked up for whatever reason on Contender, or they dropped the fight altogether. And just like you, 2 or 3 months later, they go back out there, fight doesn't go their way again. And I kind of want to pause there because that to me is such a unique thing. It's like for people who are still new to MMA, it's like, hey, the Super Bowl's going on next week, and they need another player. Do you want to play? And it's like, yeah, of course I do. And like we build up all these things in our mind, like what it's going to be, and then like when expectations aren't missed, when things don't go like how we think they might go, like how it could be really easy to like find yourself like in a funk after that. No matter who you had to fight. In your case, you had to fight Joe
Right.
Selecki, who's one of the best fighters in the entire world. Like, can you talk a little bit, like what was that experience like for it to end the way that it did? Something that I know you weren't happy with. I know that's not how you didn't run all those miles, you didn't put all that work in the gym for it to go that way. Just
Right.
that had to have been 2019 had to have been a hard year for you.
Yeah, man. I'll be honest. The losing on the Contender was like a huge gut punch for me, gut punch for my team. Um, I did everything right, no shortcuts. The weight cut was perfect. I ran all the miles I was supposed to. I did all the sparring. I didn't skip anything. And then the UFC was great to me. They flew me out a week early, me and my coaches. And they were very nice to me. I loved the whole experience. It was all great, everything but the fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's just how it goes sometimes. But yeah, it was a huge gut punch for me. And like I didn't even know if I wanted to compete again. It was kind of like I got one shot, it's over. Whatever.
Right.
Um, my coaches definitely wouldn't let that happen. They were like, "You came all this way just to come this way." You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Like,
Right.
so we kind of talked about it. They were like, "If you're in, we're in." And so that next fight, it was more like I didn't take it seriously because I was like, I just fought on the contender. Let me dust this dude up and I'll get back in there. So I kind of, I didn't run the miles I was supposed to. I didn't do the hard training because I was like, I can just ride off my talent. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And he trained like it was his Super Bowl. You know what I mean? He went to my old coaches. He went to my old training partners. Like he did all of his research. I was his Super Bowl fight. You know what I mean? And I came
Yeah.
in just like a little cocky, I would say. And just didn't do all the right things, and I got exposed. You know what I mean? I got embarrassed in my hometown. So you pay for it. You know what I mean? If you don't do all the things right, and you shortcut, you think you can just skate by, you might, but it can also bite you, and it definitely
Yeah.
bit me in that fight. You know what I mean? I thought I could just flip the switch when I needed to, and that definitely did not happen. I flipped it in one round, but I couldn't flip it in the third round. You know what I
Right.
mean? So if you don't do the right things, it's definitely going to bite you. And so that was a hard one for me to swallow again, because all the expectations being there, me just being on a contender, they're like, he's going to smack this dude and go right back.
Mm-hmm.
And it was dead silent in there when I lost, man. It was like a funeral.
Right.
It was tough.
And what makes it probably even more difficult is had the Selecki fight not happened, it's like that guy gets starched in the first round. Any other
Yeah.
time that you fight that guy, he gets starched in the first
Yeah.
round. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
one of those like weird kind of situations that had happened. And I wanted to ask you, I alluded previously, I've had a lot of people come and go on my show that have been privileged enough to get on the Contender Series. For some of them, it's worked out. For others, it hasn't worked out. What kind of advice would you give somebody coming off of that show where it didn't work out? Whether they didn't get picked up, whether they ended up dropping a fight altogether, would you tell them something like from your experience, like, "Hey, I've been there. Don't get so eager to like jump in there right away. Take your
Right.
time." Like, what is something that what kind of piece of advice would you give somebody in that situation?
Yeah, looking back, I wish I would have taken a little more time off just so we kind of could have like digested that loss and kind of like put a correct camp together. You know what I mean? It was kind of like we just threw it back to what we were doing kind of halfway. So yeah, if you drop it, I would say, and it's a huge gut punch, man. It definitely will make you question whether you still want to do this or not.
Yeah.
So I would say you got to step back and make sure you have everything in a row again before you do the camp again. Take that next fight just as serious as that one, because the most important fight is your next one. This is a what have you done for me lately business. You know what I mean? And after coming off that loss, and then I just wanted to jump back in there, took another one. So it's like to anyone who matters, I'm 0-2. You know what I mean? This
Right.
this 15 years of fighting doesn't mean anything to anyone. So definitely take a breath and put a camp together. Don't just rush back in there trying to get that one back. When you try to get that one back, it usually goes horrible.
That's where you find yourself maybe cutting corners, and not even necessarily in the prep work, but like when the
Right.
actual fight's happening. It's like,
Right.
oh man, my cardio is not quite where it usually is. So
I got to get
I'm,
this guy out of
yeah, I
here,
got
you
to get
know?
this guy out of here. And that might not always be the best approach. But this
Correct, man.
Austin Clem fight, this is a great opportunity for you to get back to your winning ways and to really like remind everybody who may have forgot, because we're a fickle bunch in this MMA
Oh,
community.
I know, man.
Like you said, it's what have you done for me lately? And it's like,
Oh, I know. I looked on Tapology. They took me off the rankings. I was like, I've been on these rankings for 15 years. You guys just scrap me like that, man.
they did. I'm looking at your Tapology page right now, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Ow.
you get a 2 years, 2 years, and it's by Felicia if you don't do anything.
Yeah. I
They
know.
they're
Hey,
ruthless at Tapology. They don't
hey,
they,
that's
they don't
okay.
play. But can you talk a little bit like a win over a guy like Clem, a guy that is a young stud and he's in his athletic prime. Like this guy, like if you pay attention to the regional scene in this area, like people know who this dude is.
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit like what would a win over this guy like mean for you, just kind of like at this point in your career?
Yeah, I mean, this dude's tough. I'm not going to take a fight against someone who's not good and not going to go anywhere. You know what I mean? This guy's still hungry. He still wants to be on the bigger shows, and he's looking to go through me to get there. You know what I mean? So I'm looking to keep him where he's at and take a win off him to bounce myself back onto the bigger shows. You know what I mean? I know he's going to come for me. I know he's going to be ready. So I'm going to try to put him away and make a statement that this is still my region. You still have to go through me if you want to be in my area. And that I still run the show around here. You know what I mean? It's been a long time, but I'm still a top dog here.
Can you with a win over him, I like it would the idea be to just kind of once again kind of heed almost your earlier warning where it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna beat this guy, and then after that, we'll take it as it comes. Do you already have some sort of like plan in place for the rest of this year, or is it just
Uh,
gonna be a wait and see deal?
no, I mean I would definitely like to fight again before the end of the year, at least once.
Mhm.
But I'm going to take all offers that come in. Matt's going to handle that. I don't really care. I'm sure he has dates. I know he already has it mapped out of what he wants to do. He's just like that. He's like, you're going to do this, this, and this, and it just happens. So I know he has a plan. I just need to beat him. Look to finish him, get him out of there, and then Matt will set up my next thing. I would like to fight again before the end of the year. I don't care what show, what promotion, you know what I mean? I would like to stay busy after being that far off. As long as I'm not injured, of course, I would like to keep it rolling.
I completely understand. Before I let you go, there's a guy I wanted to really talk to you about. He
Okay.
is one of my favorite fighters in all of mixed martial arts, and you're his manager, Moon Cosme. This is a guy that since I found out about Moon, I found out about him shortly after I started doing an MMA podcast, and it was right after he beat Mike Wilson. This guy continues to impress the heck out of me. I think this guy could be very, very special, and I honestly believe, and I'm not just saying this, I honestly believe we're looking at a guy who's going to have a number next to his name in the UFC in the toughest division in the UFC. That's how good this guy is. Can you talk a little bit about Moon and why you think he is a special fighter?
Yeah, man. When I moved here from Memphis, I already had some guys that I managed mostly from Memphis, but when I got here, I was looking to expand a little bit. I asked two of the bigger promotions here, like, hey, who's your best amateurs that you guys have? You know what I mean? And both of them both of them immediately said, Moon, you need to talk to this guy, right? And so me and Cole were talking. Cole knew of him, and Bubby Mitchell at Rush knew of him. And so a couple of my training partners were talking about him. I saw him fight, and I was like, all right, he is the hype. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I reached out. We talked. We had some mutual friends that trained together. He brought him over, and we talked here. And like immediately, you want to be around that guy. You know what I mean? Like he had whatever it is, he has it. People just want to be around him. People want to be on his social media. They want to support him. You know what I mean? And so it just right away clicked, and I was like, I gotta sign this guy, and I gotta help push him because it was getting tough for him to find fights. I think he had like 6 fights where nobody made weight or they backed out, and it was just like this crazy thing where he went a long time without fighting. And so I wanted to come in and help him, and luckily he trusts me enough, and we got it done. But yeah, I'm looking to push him. He's fighting on Icon with a big win. Hopefully he'll get a push to the bigger shows. But I truly believe it, man. He has the right mindset. Whatever it is, he has it. People are just attracted to him. You know what I mean? He's a motivator, and he works his tail off, no doubt. So I definitely think he's going to be one of the next guys into the next level from this area.
Are there any other people that you manage that you're also really excited about?
All of them. I only sign killers. What are we talking about? You know what I mean? I only sign killers. My boy Rambo just won on Friday night. He's 5-0, five
Oh,
finishes.
he's with
Um,
you?
yes,
I
yes,
know who he is.
yeah. Rambo's a killer as
He's
well.
he yeah, congratulations to him.
Thank you, man.
He he looks like he's the real deal. I know the CFFC, like that's one of those promotions where it's not hard for them to like get
Mhm.
talent from both sides. So like
Mhm.
anytime, it doesn't really matter like what somebody's record is. Like I kind of like put CFFC like on like the pinnacle of like all the regional promotions because like you fight a guy who's like 5-5 on CFFC, and then you throw him in a different promotion, and he's the goddamn champion of that weight class. So, that's one thing that I would say about Rambo. Like, I look at him, I'm like, wow, like this guy's really
Yeah.
good. Like,
Yeah.
he's doing what he's doing against really high level competition. That
Mhm.
is very surprising
Mhm.
to me,
Yeah,
anyway.
one of the guys he just beat fought for the CFFC title.
Yeah.
So it's like he's killing studs. I have him. I have Lindsey Jones, who's also undefeated. He's fighting on Icon as well. Malcolm Wellmaker, he's also fighting on there as well. And Quentin Culpepper. They're all my guys, and they're all going to rep it out in Savannah. So yeah, I have a squad full of killers. You know what I mean? T. Cummins fought for the LFA belt. We're getting him back on the bigger shows. But yeah, we're building everyone up, and I'm excited for my guys. You know, the only
You
thing I like winning more than myself is seeing my guys win. You know what I mean?
I'd imagine though for you, you're probably somewhat mentally relieved because you get a fight, and it's like, man, I don't have to worry about you all for a little bit. Like when you watch people fight, like I'm telling you,
Yeah.
it's one of the most. I'm telling this as like somebody who's just like covering this sport, right? Like I get somebody on my show, I'm like, yeah, that guy was really cool, and then they fight, and I'm like, all right, but then like I'm like excited at first, but then the fight happens, and then there's like this like sense of dread in my stomach. I'm like, oh
Oh,
god,
it's
like
so much easier for me to fight myself than to have any of my guys or my friends fight. You know what I mean? I get way worse than when I'm fighting myself, you know?
yeah, it's like this feeling of like helplessness. You're just
Of
sitting there, and
course.
it's just
Yeah.
like, man, like I don't know what the hell I do, but I want to jump over that cage, and I just want to, I just want to help. I don't know what that looks like. Let me just run into this guy and get a couple punches, and then you can take a breath or something. Like I don't know, it's
Yeah.
crazy, but like that's a real thing. Like it's a real
Oh
thing
yeah.
when you watch people that you have a relationship actually compete. That's why you know I like the
I'm
UFC because I
I'm
know a few people there, but it's like hey, go ahead and beat the hell out of each other. I don't know either of you guys.
yeah, I'm more comfortable in the cage than in the corner.
Oh, I've heard that too. I have heard the corner is a really difficult place to be in, especially when you know how hard your guys worked and what he's
Yeah,
given
man.
up to put himself in that position. And you want so bad for them to make it happen, but there's that saying that there's always going to be that one person leaving that cage with a broken heart. That's what makes
Yep.
this game so absolutely
It's
vicious.
not
It's
fair.
it's
It's not
vicious.
fair, you know?
It
You can
is
do everything right. You can do everything right. It's not fair.
no, it's not. And there are certain times like you see these guys fight, and it's like I don't want to see any. Like I was so thoroughly entertained for the 15 minutes or 25 minutes. It's like,
Call to
and
draw and give them both their win
yeah, I was
bonus.
like, right. I think like that because I'm like, man, like don't do the other guy like that. Like like give
Yeah.
them both the show and then give them the bonus, give them the win
Es-
bonus.
Especially some of the older heads in the UFC. It's like, dang, I don't want him to lose. You know what I mean?
Okay,
Some of the
perfect
older heads.
example of that was Barberena versus Brown in Ohio not that long ago. It was a hell of a fight. And I'm not going to say, like, you're a dummy if you think Barberena won. I'm not going to say that. I thought Matt Brown won, but I'm a little biased because I'm kind of an old dude. But for him to get done like that on a split decision and then all of a sudden, like,
Yeah,
that's the half of his paycheck's gone. I don't know. For me, I have a
that's
problem with
tough.
that. I have a problem with that. And you've been in this game long enough. Like, do you think are you like an advocate of purses being like, hey, so hey, famous UFC guy, like we're gonna give you $1 million to show up, regardless of whether you win, lose, draw, it's $1 million. Like, would you be a fan of like a set amount like that, or do you think having these win bonuses, like, do you think the status quo is better than a flat purse, like how they do in boxing?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely been screwed by a split decision or two in my day for sure.
Yeah,
And it not so much that I didn't get half my money. It's like I won that fight. You know,
right.
I could care less about the money. I won the fight. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
when we're talking about some serious purses and some guy who's uneducated gets to choose, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I just think they're not educated
Yeah,
enough. Some of them are boxing guys that came over and have no clue what jujitsu is.
right.
So I think it's a more of an education issue.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't mind having live scoring. You look up and you see you're down two, you know what I mean? Or you look up and you see it's 1-1, you know what I mean? This is one of the only sports that you play and you don't know whether you're winning or not until it's over.
No one knows what
So
the score is until the very end.
right. So yeah, I mean, it's a weird system and it's going to take like a huge overhaul. And I think like the UFC would have to kind of lead that. It's going to be, because they're the standard. If the UFC doesn't do it, no one else is going to do it. So
I've always kind of like had this rule when it comes about that sort of thing is I think I think those of us at home don't need to know. I think it's fine. We can wait in suspense. Who cares? I do think it should be up to the coach, though. So, for example, you're in the corner. I've seen it happen in a couple of different promotions where they will put the tablet or whatever. They'll raise it up like where the fighter can't see it, and the coach would be looking right at it,
yeah, no
and
problem
then
with that.
leave it to the coach to tell them.
Yeah, no problem. Because you want your guy to be fired up in the third round
Yeah,
instead of coasting. Yeah, no problem
and
with that.
I think that's the best way to handle it because if you want to like preserve the integrity of this, like there's also that kind of fear, like oh well, if it's open scoring and you have a guy that is up on the cards, is he just going to get on his bike and run away for the next 5 minutes and put everyone to sleep? I'm like, well, that
Right.
happens now, so I don't,
Right. Because he knows he's up 2 rounds. Yeah. If
right,
he's up that much, he knows it.
yeah,
I think
exactly.
I think the judges need to be educated a little more. I think the more like retired fighters get into judging and reffing, I think the better that'll be. And I've judged fights before. It's not easy, and I'm all in the game. I've been in every aspect of the game you can be, and I'm telling you, it's hard. Especially when it's two super good guys and they're both tit for tat. It's tough to pick which one won the round. You know what I
So,
mean? Especially on the system that we have with 10-9. Somebody has to get 10 and then the other guy gets. It's very hard job, and I don't want it. I love reffing. I'd rather ref. I've done that before. I don't want to judge. It's tough, but I think they need some help. They need some education and maybe tweaking to the system for sure.
it's funny that you mentioned that. Ben Parrish was on my show not that long ago, and I asked him this question because I was like, "Dude, I know that
I
you
love
ref."
Ben.
Ben is like my man. Like I love that guy. He's my spirit animal. I asked Ben. I was like, "I've seen you ref. What else have you done?" He's like, "Dude, name it. I've done it." And I'm like, "Okay."
100%. Yep.
So like, name of all the things of like whether it be being the referee, being that third man in the cage, or like being a judge. Out of those two, what would you rather do? And
Ref every day.
I think I'm pretty sure that's what he said, but he did tell me about how he refed a fight and then like everyone like gave him shit
Oh
for
yeah.
I don't remember like for
I, I
I think for calling a fight too soon.
I believe it was an early stoppage in Mississippi, and I was at that show. I mean, not the biggest deal because I believe it was an amateur fight, if I can remember correctly. So it wasn't that big of a
Yes.
deal. But I mean, that's hard too. I mean, but I would much rather be a referee than a judge, um, any day. And I've done that. I've been the cut man. I've matchmake the shows. Put them like I've done it all. I would much rather ref than be anything else. I think.
I yeah, I don't know I don't know because then there's also that element where it's like everyone's like, oh, the judges are on crack. You don't know what you're doing. You guys suck.
Yeah.
That's easy to say when you aren't in that position. And all of a
And
sudden you're there, and it's like, wow, like I'm
and also
empowered to do
also
this.
we're on three different sides of the cage, and if a guy's ground and pounding and his back is to me, I think all those punches are landing, but the other judge is right in front of it and sees that none of those are landing, so we're seeing two different things. You know what I mean? He's just
Yeah,
flailing his arms around. To me, it looks like he's hitting him. To the other judge, none of those are landing, and the guy's okay. You know what I mean? So it's very hard, and I don't really want to do it. I would much rather ref. And the best piece of advice I got for refing is to let it happen in front of you and then react. Don't try to preemptively stop something. You know what I mean?
absolutely. Before I let you go, I know that you have a lot of people that make the James gang that it is. So if there's any
That's been Parrish as
sponsors,
well.
yep. So if there's any sponsors or anyone like that you'd like to shout out or would like to give you that chance before I let you go.
All right, thank you, man. I'd like to thank my management, First Round Management, Matt Weibel, my team, American Top Team, Miller Martial Arts here helping me out, my coaches, Cole Miller and Bubby Mitchell, and all my sponsors of this camp that came to help me for this comeback fight. I appreciate you guys. You know who you are. Thank you, man.
Right, great. Everyone, I will go ahead and all the ticket information, whatever James posts, I will go ahead. I'll put it in the description of this video. I would recommend if you're in the area and you do want to get tickets, you get a move on that because these tickets will go. I would imagine this will be a sold out show. You'll definitely want to get them. So whatever information he has, I will put in the description of this video. Make sure that you guys tune in. And James, I hope I can have you back on this show. And we're talking about you winning this fight and then possibly going on to your next one.
Of course, man. Anytime, hit me up. I'd love to come on. Thank you for having me. I loved it.